That's the medium price in the world.
Wednesday morning, it is our recording is in progress, and it's session 2 of our MREA series. My name is Jen Bovey. I am co-hosting the entire series with your team leaders in the region and our MCTTs, which are our Market Center Tech Trainers, and Brooke Silva, who is our regional tech trainer. So you have a lot of support on here. And I'm excited today because our team leader who is hosting this with us, her name is Rhonda Messingborg, and I get to work with Rhonda every single day. We work in the same market center. We are Keller Williams Coastal in the Rhode Island area. And I know some of you are in the New Hampshire area, and you also have the name Coastal. Sue Kenyon is one of them. And we are now kind of taking that coastal and bringing it to Rhode Island. So thank you, Susan, for letting us use part of your name. So anywho, we're gonna jump right into session number 2. Who's excited for today? Can't just be me. All right, I see some clapping. I see some people ready to go today. We're going to dive right in, and we're on page 67. If you have the book, we're on page 67. We're going from pages 67 to 97 today. Rhonda's going to give us the overview of what this is going to look like, and you're walking out of here today. Don't get scared by this with your big why. Now, here's the thing, guys. You could have had a big why last month or last year or 2 years ago, and it could have changed. So stick with us and follow along as we learn how to think a million and creating your big why. All right, Rhonda, I'm going to pass it over to you if you want to introduce yourself, and I'll be here for you. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. I'm really excited to be here, and I really want to thank Jen and the region for putting this together for all of us, and for the opportunity for me to get to spend some time with you all today. And I just want to start with just a quick little story about the MREA, and really what came as like my big aha when I sat down with Jen maybe a year and a half ago at family reunion. And I had been, as before I was team leader, I was an agent here in the market center. I was out at the family reunion in Dallas, and Jen and I were talking after one day, and she said, Rhonda, what was your favorite part of today? What was your aha from today? And I said, you know what, Jen, my aha today is to just follow the model and to follow the MREA. And I had already been here for a couple of years, and this red book was given to me, I think, the day that I came in and talked to Jen about joining Keller Williams from my previous company. And I was running a team, and I was trying to do things my way. And I was just I was maybe being a little resistant. And I had said to her, all of our, like, these agents, these amazing agents and these amazing businessmen and women who are on stage and talking to us, and we're so excited to learn from. I'm like, what's the common thing that they're all talking about? Is just following the model. And I'm like, that's my aha. And so from that day, I just have totally embraced the model and have made my way through the book. I'm saying that, maybe not as diligently as I should. And that is why I'm so excited that we are doing this here in the region, because it is taking us from cover to cover in small sections so that you can really digest it and you can really apply it to your business. Because if you do that, that's how we are all going to grow. So I am super excited to be here, and thank you very much for the opportunity. So today we're going, as Jen said, from pages 67 to 97, and we get to talk about really the base of the foundation, which is think a million. And it all starts here, right? This is the base camp for us, and what you think matters. And, your mindset, we all know this, we know this from Bold. We just know that, your mindset, that is everything to you. And if your mindset is in a really strong place, anything is possible. So it all starts here with Think a Million. And I love this I love this part. I love building from here because the first thing that you really do have to do is you have to think things through. It's about making a plan, and then from there everything builds, but you have to think it first, and you have to think about what it is that you want. Do you want me to share my screen and bring the slide up? I know there's just a couple of slides from today.
You know what, we looked at it yesterday or on Monday, and we think that maybe eliminating the slides for this and really having great conversation. I do want to add something though, Rhonda, if that's okay.
Please.
On page 67, I underlined something that Gary had here that really kind of resonated with me. And I just want to share it with you guys. He said, I began answering my phone with a line, national office. National office. This was when he was still working out of the basement of his house or building, and he didn't have a national office. Why do you think he answered the phone that way?
To build a perception of how big his business was for people calling in.
For him to build a perception of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for him to solidify and anchor his goals of he knew where he was going and where he was thinking, right? So he was thinking this million right from go from when he was building this company. And now just look at where we are. Was that future thinking? Yeah, right? So just think about that as we go along with this chapter. I love that. I began answering my phone with the line, national office. Are you doing the same? And Mark Kavanaugh has his hand up, and I always love hearing from Mark. So Mark, please unmute yourself. Or is that a high five? Maybe it was just a high five, just maybe a high five. All right, go ahead, Rhonda.
I want to hear something from Mark too. Every time Mark talks, everybody listens.
Everybody leans in. They're like, what gold are you dropping right now? It was a high five. Okay, go ahead, Rhonda. You can keep going.
So today we are just going to talk about the next 45 minutes. We're going to talk about the 9 ways that the millionaire real estate agent thinks. And so I loved, I'm over on page 70. And one of the things as I read through this chapter again before last night, was I loved the approach of, I'm like in the middle of the page where it says truly aggressive people might at first think it's a waste of good selling or listing time to think, but the matter of fact is ready, aim, fire is always better versus ready, fire, aim. So just taking the time to put a little thinking into your plan before you execute is something that is going to be beneficial. And then the next step is we get to work. So over on page 71, the 9 ways a real estate agent thinks, and they're down at the bottom on figure 2 they're all listed there. And we're going to go through each one of those individually and just talk about them. And if anybody does have something to add, please feel free to put your hand up or just jump right in, unmute yourself and jump right in, because I would love for this to be super interactive and hear everybody's thoughts as well. So the 9 ways that a millionaire real estate agent thinks is broken up into 2 categories. There's a foundational and supportive. And the first 2, think powered by a big why, which Jen already touched on a little bit. Figuring out what is your big why. Our big why is what drives us. It's what gets us out of bed every day. It's what motivates us, and it's what helps set our goals to where we want to go and what we want to do. The second one, think big goals and big models, right? So once we have our big why and we have our goals set, then we need systems in place in order to be able to do those. And then the 3 through 9 are supportive of that foundation. And that's think possibilities, think action, think without fear, think progress, think competitively and strategically, think standards, and think service. So let's talk about our big why. So how many here know, like absolutely know what their big why is?
It's not easy, by the way. It's not easy, and it will change.
Yes.
Has anybody on here had a big why that had changed? Probably all of us at some point.
Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah.
want to share it?
and I'll share mine.
Great. Thank you,
Rick
Rick.
Dow from Portland. When I first started as a real estate agent, my big why was to leave my previous career. I was dual career for about 10 months before I finally made that jump. And so for the first couple of months, it was like, I'm going to stop doing what I was doing to focus on real estate. And now my big why is I have a daughter heading off to Stonehill in the fall, and I'm going to write a check for it.
That's a
That's
pretty
it.
big why. That's a pretty big motivator to get out of bed every day and know why you're doing what you're doing. And you know what's crazy, Rick? It's not about the check, is it?
No, it's not.
No.
It's
And I
about her
could,
living a life with no debt, because I have still in debt from my college days, which was a long time ago. She won't have that problem.
right. You know what? And it really is. There's a sign behind me. It says a life by design, not by default. Not sure if you guys could see that. It's a bold law. And that's what Rick's talking about. He's creating a life by design, not by default, not only for himself, but for his daughter and her future. How powerful is that? Why? Did anybody get chills there?
Mhm.
I'm just saying, right? So when you're thinking of your why, think of why you're getting out of bed, why you logged in at 8:30 this morning to listen to the steps of this book, and why you're doing what you're doing. Your big why might not be the same as Rick's. It might not be the same as mine or Rhonda's. But I will tell you, there is a reason why you're here today and why you're doing what you're doing every single day. And it's not for a paycheck. It's not for the $1 million that you could make this year. What will the $1 million do for you is why you're here. So think about that. Anything else, Rick, on that? That was awesome. Thanks for sharing.
A few years back, I went with Mark Richards down to Boston to see Diana Kokoska speak. It was a small group setting, and she talked about being able to write a check for somebody's medical bills. That it was just, can't help not be sick, but I can help with a check. And that just in my head just was like, that's what I want. I just want to be able to write. I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm good at writing checks. And being a real estate agent, that helps too.
Awesome. Love that.
Thank you, Rick.
I think that's so I mean, that right there, Rick, is just, that is so powerful. And I absolutely, I love it. It took me a long time to know what my why was. And I think people ask me for years, like, what is your why? I watched Simon Sinek. I watched it over and over, right? The big why. And I just could never articulate it. And because for me, it was never about money for me. And people would say, what's your big why? And I'm like, I don't know. I just love what I do. And I just love the feeling of helping people. And now as a team leader, I just love helping our agents grow and get to where they want to in business. And so and I will say, when you do really think about what your big why, whatever that is, and I love how Gary says that at the very top, your big why is just to be the absolute best that you can be at what you're doing, right? Like, start there, and then everything else is just going to build underneath it. But when you find it and you feel it, you do really jump out of bed in the morning, and you just get super excited to start your day and to go about that. So I love that.
Yeah, I love that. And on page 72, I underlined this too. And can anybody relate to this? Ever seen anyone going on vacation and what they're willing to do to get done before they go on vacation? I'm not reading exactly from the book, but that's what it says here on page 72. What happens typically when somebody's ready to go on vacation tomorrow? Do they get purposeful or what? Like, you get it all done. How does that happen? Go ahead, Corinna, unmute yourself.
You're focused on what it is. Yeah.
You know
Keep
what your
focused.
big why is.
Yeah.
It's just a shorter time frame, and it's very clear to you what has to get done before you get on that plane or shut your phone off or stop looking at emails, right?
Yep.
That's what we're talking about. That's what he's talking about in this big why. And the reason that we're talking a little bit more about it than what you might think we should is because it's hard. And we don't want 100 and something of you to walk away today not figuring out what your big why is, or why you get out of bed every day. Right, Rhonda?
Absolutely.
This-
Yeah.
Can I just jump in? Good morning, everyone. This is Kimon out of Hartford, Connecticut. And in talking about the big why, so I've had my big why the same for a few years. And what I found, and I'm not sure if others out there, I'm sure that are like me, it was so big that I couldn't connect with it every single day to keep my energy up every single day. And so I had to get granular, like Karina said, and like you were saying, Jen, with what's the thing that's going to motivate me, like a vacation does, you know, that is, it's big and it is more in the moment that I can, that is my steps along the way to that big goal. And maybe that's what is, I would say, lulling some of us into inaction, is that our goals are so big that it doesn't give us butterflies every single day to get to it immediately. And so we have to kind of get smaller and create those big jumps along the way that's going to give us that big energy, that butterfly that you get to get super focused when you are going on vacation and you just have to crush it because it's so immediate. It's, you know, in the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Kimon, and that's spot on. Like, you hit the nail on the head with that. And I'm going to jump over to Benjamin. I think he has his hand up. I'm not sure if it's a high five, so.
No, it's a hand up this time. I meant it.
All right.
I just wanted to talk about my big why and how it's a little bit different from the last person that just spoke. So my big why has always been, I set a 10x goal for myself, which I just aligned what I wanted on all aspects of my life with the big why. So I identified what my perfect day would be. And then I identified what experiences within that perfect day, what would I need to get there? And then also, what does that mean? What is that perfect day? It's spending time with my family. It's, okay, I want to be able to spend time with my kids in the future. I want to be home with them once I have kids. I don't even have kids yet. But it's all, for me, it's all about that 10x goal that I'm shooting for. And then it's going and waking up every single day and identifying what that one thing is I can do right now in order to get me one step closer to that 10x goal. Because I'm finding out what action steps I can take to that 10x goal, the action steps I'm taking is going to be a lot larger than someone else with a lower goal. Hey, I just want to go on vacation. That's perfectly fine for your goal. But if you set a 10x goal for your big why, and your big why is more than the amount of money. If it's based off of money, I don't think you really understood what your why is. Your why is something that drives you. It's something that pushes you to go after your dream. If no one's paying you, these are the actions you want to take anyways, because you want to get there no matter what. So that's my 2 cents on it. It's a little bit different, but it depends on what goals, how big you want to get.
Well, Benjamin, we probably should pay you for that, because that was absolutely amazing too. And you're absolutely right. Chunk it down. Chunk it down to the why, because it will bring you to the big one, right? When you chunk it down to knowing exactly what happens next, it'll help you get to where you're going, right?
And then I like to add in another aspect to it, which is I try to identify each week one book that I would have to read in order to get to that 10x goal. Because let's face it, we don't have, if you knew what to do, we would already be making the money we want to make. So it's all about acquiring that information in a systematic manner. If that means I have to stay up for the next 3 days to finish 3 books, that's what it means, because it's the one thing I have to get done to accomplish my big why. And nothing else matters, because I'm going after, once you identify that big why, it doesn't matter what gets in your way, you're going to go after it.
That's awesome.
Agreed. Thank you,
That's awesome.
Benjamin. I love your passion and thank you for
Love
adding
it.
that to this morning. We needed that. So thank you.
Yep, I love that. I love that. Get your big wine, 10x it. That's awesome. That's all we need to say. It's perfect.
There's
So
some
let's
mic drops
go
right
over
there.
to-
I
I know,
love it.
so exactly, mic drop.
Right, that's
So now-
it for today. That's it. Thank
May
you,
I-
Ben.
May I say something really briefly? Just
Sure.
back to Kimon and trying to not lose track of the big why. I kind of, when I get granular, I say this or not this. Has anyone else heard this sort of how to steer ourselves by taking a moment and saying this or not this? So I use that to help me course correct when I get a little off course with my big why.
I love
Love
that.
that.
Thank you for sharing.
That's awesome. Thank you,
Hey,
Kelly.
Rhonda, you know what? I think this is like a lot of people are talking about how they think about these things. And you and I have had some great conversations about savers.
Yes.
And Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, right? So I think this is a great time to bring up the quick conversation you and I have had about this. And now this is a PDF we'll pop in for you guys into the chat right now. But let's take a minute and just discuss this, because I think centering on your big why is not something that comes overnight, right? It comes from doing these savers. So do you want to chat that through with me real quick? And guys, I did just pop the PDF for you into the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So Miracle Morning, if you haven't read Miracle Morning, it is such a great book. And SAVERS is the acronym of the actions that the Miracle Morning talks about. And talk about focus. I am the type of person who, over the course of my my careers, I am the girl that I am up at 5 a.m. and I am working by 5:05 a.m. and I'm frantically sending emails, and right before I'm even out of bed, I'm thinking about the 100 things I have to do today. SAVERS and Miracle Morning, it takes you can spend as much time as you want. You can do SAVERS. The letter of SAVERS stands for one activity. You can spend 5 minutes, you can spend 10. It's totally customizable. What they stand for is the first S is silence. So spend 5 minutes. I'm going to say do 5 minutes because that's typically what I do. Spend 5 minutes in silence when I first get up in the morning and just be, right? Instead of like getting up and running out the door and being in chaos. So silence. The A is affirmations, which affirmations are so powerful because it goes back to our mindset. So spend 5 minutes, have them prepared, have a journal with affirmations in it. And I would just read through my affirmations every morning and repeat them to myself. The V stands for visualizations. Like it's visualization. So in those 5 minutes, just you can either do it. There's plenty of things out there that can bring up visuals for you to focus on of abundance, or just close your eyes and think, as Benjamin was saying, about that 10x why of what you're doing, and just think about it and see yourself in there. So that's the visualization. E is exercise. Now, what are you going to do in 5 minutes? However, when you're doing, it might just be breathing, or it just might be 5 minutes of stretching in that, right? And then go do your workout later on when you have more time. But just getting up and getting your blood flowing. And so exercise. R is for reading. And that is something that I didn't read forever, because I'm like, I don't have time to read, but like just 5 minutes, just, read something, pick an excerpt out of a book, grab your John Maxwell book and just flip to a page and just read what it says, right? And then the last one is scribing. And so then, write in your journal, write down what you're thankful for today, right? So 5 minutes, just spend writing maybe what you read about and how you're going to apply that to your personal life or your business. And if you just go through that exercise of savers, and I can tell you personally that when I do that, my day starts totally differently than when I am out of bed and typing emails on my phone before I even hit the kitchen to make a cup of coffee.
And
So
agree.
it is absolutely powerful. So Miracle Morning, I highly recommend that book, and even just doing the savers and, you know, saving the book and just starting that exercise. It's life-changing.
And it was the scribe part that changed my life. That
Mhm.
grounded me every morning. I've done those things, but I got to tell you, it was the scribing that started the day for me and got those going and helped me start figuring out what hurt, what felt good, and what motivated me that day. What was my daily motivator besides my big why? So I love those. If you're new to those, snag the book, start a 66-day challenge around it.
Mhm.
It's a great way to start your day. You know, wake up 15 minutes early, 20 minutes early. And silence is a hard thing for me too, for those of you who know me. But now I live for the silent moments that ground me in the morning to get me through the day.
I agree. Yeah, and do the 5 minutes of silence before you even get out of bed. That's what I would do in the morning. My alarm would go off, I would turn it off, and I would just lay there for 5 minutes and just let myself be, right?
I back out like a light, Rhonda.
It is very hard to do, but it is awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I know it's already 10 of or 5 of 9. So let's go back because we still have a few more to go through. So I'm going to go over to number 2. Think big goals and big models. So when you have big goals, once you know your why and you're setting those big goals up, right now you need a model, you need a system that can support those goals. So that's the next step, right? So you need them. If you have big goals, then to reach them, you inevitably begin a quest for big models. Your big models will drive you toward the achievement of your big goals. And then on the other side of that, once you have big models in place, then what is the next step that you need? Then you need the habits that are going to support the model that is going to support your goal. Does anybody have anything to add on that? Okay. And then over on page 80, figure 4 on page 80, I loved this, that, you know, you can start in the book, Gary talks about the marathon runner, right? And where somebody is going to set out on running a marathon. And that's just, 26.2 miles. I've never run a marathon, and it does seem unreachable to me. I will kind of say that right now. Yet, if you chunk it down into, just the model of how you're going to get there, you're not going to on day 1 go out and run 26.2 miles on your first day. You're probably not even going to run 13.1 miles on your first day. Yet you might go out and you might run 2 miles. And then the next week you might run a total of 4 miles. And so your habits are you're going to start the habits of the biggest model, of the big why and the big goal that you have. Yet you're going to just create a system so that you're going to get there, and you're going to start those habits to chunk it down and reach that goal. So like, I love that. I loved where he was talking about, if you see that figure there, the $2.5 million habits, right? You don't want to live there. You don't want the habits that are just going to live in that box. You want to start the habits for the 80 million a year model, but you're going to start those habits and you're going to make it through all of those steps to get up there. So, I love that philosophy of sometimes something might seem so unreachable because you've set this really big goal for yourself. Yeah, all you need is the model, and then you just need the habits that are going to get you there. Anything else on that?
I'm going to throw out a question. It's probably like $1 million question, but which models have people found most successful?
Which models in regards to, good, tell me a little bit more.
Well, I know we always say, do the models, but I'm sure I'm following some, but I'm sure there's more for me to follow. But, what models to some of the more successful people are they finding are keys to success?
So are you talking about, so let's talk about the goal first, right? Because the model is going to be specific to what your goal is. So give me an example of a goal.
So here the goal is, say, for example, at the end of the day, have, 3 listings on a continual basis, for example.
Okay, that's awesome. So if your goal is to have 3 listings at the end of a day, to have or 3 listing appointments at the end of the day,
Or to have 3 active listings on a continual basis.
have 3 active listings on a continual basis. Okay, great. So that is our goal, to have 3 active listings on a continual basis. So the model that is going to support that is going to be your lead generation model on how you are going to reach out to, how you are going to be in contact and conversation with potential clients who are thinking of listing their home. So you're going to build your model. We're going to use the lead generation model, right? Leads, right? Leads, listings, leverage. So then you're going to point to, so all of these models are going to then point back to leads, listings, and leverage. So you're going to have your lead generation model, whereas you are going to be able to be in contact with enough people out there, enough potential clients where you can have conversations with them where they are thinking of selling. So then you can have appointments and then have them sign your listing agreements and maintain that. So in order to do that, the habits around that are going to be supportive of making sure that you are talking to people, you're lead generating, and you're having those conversations with people. So you're bringing enough leads in that are going to lead to clients. Does anybody else have anything? Can anybody else add anything more specific about maybe what you're doing in order to support that?
I would just add real quick, follow those laws of lead gen. What are they? What are the 4 laws, guys? These are my favorite. 4 laws we live by. Build a database. No database, no business. We call it a data bank at KWNE. You gotta feed it every day. It's hungry. I'm hungry. You gotta communicate with it in a systematic way. That's what we're for. And your MCTTs to help you with that. And then you have to service all the leads that come your way.
Mhm.
That right there is the model to back up everything you do to get those listings to be where you want to be.
Thank you, Brooke.
Well, and one of the cool things about that too, relative to that, is that it's for any size, right? So it's not, we can use the number 3 or we can use the number 30 listings at any time. It doesn't really matter, because as long as we know what is the activity, the number of activities required to get to number 1, then we just, again, we just say, okay, well, I know I wanted to go from 3 to 30. Okay, great. We know what that looks like. Here's the activity. Do it enough that you can get 30. And so that, again, becomes overwhelming if you just say, I've got to do it all at once. That's not how it works. You chunk it down, just like we're talking about with the rest of the goals. If you don't have a why behind it, you're likely not to do those things, because you're looking at such a big thing in the horizon that you're not necessarily going to feel the pull towards it. And so when it gets hard, you'll stop. And that's the whole point of what we're talking about today. Is one of the models that we should be looking at first and foremost is you need a mindset check, because without the mindset, you're going to fail likely along the way. So get the mindset first. And again, if you just look at the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that is the model of models. It's a book of all models there that will get you where you want to go. So make sure you're focused on the mindset first and foremost. That's what we're talking about today. And then there's all these other models that are built right into the book that we're going to go over at later chapters.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mark. I love that. I love that. And that actually brings us to number 3, which is think possibilities. And it all, like Mark just said, it all comes back to mindset. And, I'm on page 82, the 3 stages of possibility thinking are: number 1, nothing is possible. Number 2, something is possible. And number 3, anything is possible. And that goes back to exactly what Mark was just saying, is that it all goes back to your mindset. And in our mindset, get to anything is possible. And once you believe that anything is possible, then the opportunities are completely limitless to you and to your business.
Love that. Love that, Rhonda.
Okay, so Number 4, let's talk about number 4. So number 4 is think action. So all of these are now building on each other. So now that we've decided that anything is possible, right? Now we're going to think action, because the possibilities, they need to be followed by an action. So anything is possible, yet if you're not doing the actions that are going to make that a reality, then it's never going to come to fruition. So it all starts with mindset, and then it all starts with what is possible. And then then it continues on to action and to building those habits that are going to drive you forward and keep driving you forward, step forward into hitting what your goals are.
Yeah, and I love this one. And I love what Gary puts in here about Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway, the
Love that
story
movie.
about the box. And think about action. That was his main purpose for surviving, was delivering and seeing what was in that box. If you guys know that movie, Castaway, it was a box with like a butterfly with angel wings around it. And that was the purpose. And that's how he was able to think his action out of that island, off of that island, and how to get to where he was going. So I love that little analogy in the book here for this section.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite line in this part, shut up, get up, giddy up. When do you stop just being a professional real estate learning person? And when do you just do? Because you're never going to get there when you don't start deploying what we're learning. So shut up, giddy up, go. You got it.
That's so Gary Keller. And if you're in a room with him today, this book was done in, I think, 2003. If you had a conversation with him today, Brooke, what do you think he would say to you today?
He would say the same exact thing.
He would say the same thing.
And he would add, now what's next? And what's next? Because he said it to us in a room full of people. What is next? Think bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know what, that leads us perfect to the next one, which is think without fear. Because that can be hard, right? These things can cause fear. So how do we think without the fear?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't be afraid of fear, right? Because part of our journey is failing, and failing is okay. And I highlighted over on page 86, actually, the quote from Tim Wood, who's out in Bear Lake, California. I loved his quote. There is no failure. You win or you learn. So it's okay to fail. Just learn from it. And then you're going to move on and you're going to do it better the next time, and you're going to overcome. And I think I'm sometimes in my lifetime have just been that poster child of being paralyzed by fear and thinking of a really big goal and where I want it to be, and then saying like, oh, but I can't. That's like, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. And then when you realize that power, that anything is possible and that you can do that, you let go of the fear that what's the worst that's going to happen? So you're going to fail at it. Doesn't matter, right? Giddy up, right, Brooke? Get up, giddy up.
And when you put the fear aside and you don't let it conquer you or your mindset or your thoughts, progress happens. Then you can quantify and qualify that the things you're doing in your big why and how you're thinking like an MRE agent is going to push you forward, which it's funny how these laws line up, huh? These thoughts about being an MREA, a millionaire real estate agent, line up because progress is so important. And this is why it's so important to use things like a database and to know what your actions are doing so you can see results from your actions.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we're talking about progress, which is on page 87. And I love the example in the book about the ceramics study, the ceramics teacher, that I love that, right? Because sometimes we feel like we can't, if we're not doing it absolutely perfect, we're going to try to do it absolutely perfect. And we're not going to just keep doing and getting better and getting better and getting better. And I love the example where they put people into two groups. And one group, they were going to make, what were they making? They were making a bowl or something in ceramic.
Yeah, some type of little pot. Yeah.
And they said that you guys, what you get to make one thing and make it as perfect, you're gonna be graded on how well you do it. And the other group, they said just make as many as possible, right? And it's gonna be quantity. You're gonna be judged on the quantity. And at the end of the study, the folks that were in the first group that just tried to make it absolutely perfect, a lot of them still weren't very good. Yet the other group where it was quantity and they were churning them out over and over and over again and making mistakes and doing it again, the end product was so much better because they had so many times where they were able to have progress and they progressed with each mistake they made, and it was better the next time. And I just love, I think like that just kind of puts it in such a nutshell as to, it's okay. It's okay if we fail, it's always fail forward, right? Get up and dust yourself off and, do it better the next time.
Yep. And that leads us to thinking competitively and strategically. That's a hard word to say. Both of those are tongue twisters. Can I get points for saying both of those correctly this morning?
Exactly. Yes. Think competitive and strategically. And in here, playing to win is not a bad thing, right? You need the strategies. You have to play. You have to play like you're going to win. And it was Benjamin who was talking before about his big why. He'll stay up and, for the whole night and read the book that he needs to read to get him to where he wants to be and what his goal is. Do it, play to win. Take no prisoners and just forge ahead, and do what it takes. Can't break the law. I feel like I probably
don't break the law.
Break the law.
Don't play Monopoly with realtors. That is a hard lesson I've learned. And I love on page 91, the low achiever, the high achiever, right? Can we do that? Or did someone say we couldn't? That's where I live. Ask for forgiveness, not permission sometimes, right?
Benjamin, do you have your hand up?
I do. I just wanted to point out that once you have your big why, it is really important to break it down into smaller chunks. And you were talking about the miracle morning before about, okay, your daily thing. But then the other thing that I follow is the 12-week
Yes.
year.
12-week year.
Because then you can break down your big goal into your big why. Now you understand it. And then, yes, perfect. Love the book. And then you can break that big why down into smaller chunks that you need to do yearly. And then you want to get that yearly goal done within your 12 weeks. And then if you're creating action plans for yourself to do what you need to do or what books you need to read within a 12-week period, just imagine what you can do for the rest of the year if you get all of those books in within that 12-week period. I'm a bookworm, so
love that.
maybe people don't read as much as me, but
no, it's awesome. And Brooke put that in the chat for everybody as well, a link to the 12-week year. The 12-week year is absolutely amazing. It is something that we have used in our market center. It is a great book, exactly what Benjamin said. Okay, so number 8, think standards. Standards are about defining levels of performance and then holding yourself and others accountable to meet or exceed those levels. And in the book, Gary is talking about that's really, when it's just you and you know what your standards are, how you perform, what those standards are that you provide to your customers. That's going to be really important when you hire your first assistant, is then to also make sure that they are upholding your standards as well and teaching them and holding them accountable to always carrying through your standards, your personal standards that you provide to your clients. And then the last one, number 9, is think service, right? It's all about the experience that we are giving to our clients. It says every top producing agent we have ever worked with has a deep and most inherent sense of service. And that's what it's about. And that's what it's about for us here on leadership. And that's what it's about for you as real estate agents. Your leadership, we're here to provide the best service to our agents so you can provide the best service to your clients. And that is really what it is all about. It's about the experience that we are providing to those that we serve.
Wow. That was a quick 9 models. We could probably have classes on just the 9. It's incredible. We've gone over a lot of things today. We've talked about a lot of resources. Don't worry if you didn't grab them all in the chat. We do a wrap-up email for you that will be coming at you sometime today or tomorrow. So make sure you watch for that as well. Rhonda, Jen, do you have anything else you want to add?
I do. Before we have 1 minute left, and I want to make sure we didn't skip over it too quickly. Your big why, when you're listening to the book or you're reading the book, it actually tells you to pause, like stop right what you're doing right now and go do this. So I'm going to request to everybody on this call to pause after this meeting and write down on, I believe the figure was on page 70 something. Wait a minute, I'm going to find it. 77. 77, write down and really figure out your big why as homework or as a goal for you in your business. And before we leave, Brooke and Rhonda, first, thank you very much, guys. You've done a fabulous job. And I do have to thank Kate for being in the chat and adding in a whole bunch of great stuff. Thank you so much, Kate. She's one of our MCTTs. I'd love to get a couple of ahas before we close off today. So please unmute yourself and give your aha action plan or takeaway from today.
My takeaway from today is to break down my goals even smaller than I have been, because thinking about what Maria said earlier about sometimes your big goal is too big, where it doesn't motivate you short term. I'm going to start putting different rewards in my plan for shorter periods to motivate myself even more. So thank you, Maria, for that comment.
I love that, Benjamin. Thanks for sharing. And I see Kelly, you have your hand up, but I don't see you on screen. So hopefully you could hear me. If you want to jump off mute and let us know your aha. Anyone else?
A morning routine, get it back onto track.
Who was that? That was
It's Louise.
Louise.
Hi, sorry, I'm off camera,
that.
but yes. Thanks for the reminder.
All right. Have an accountability person to help you get back on track there. I love that. All right. What else? One more.
Hi, Jen, it's Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. You're exercising, I heard.
Yeah, well, but one of the things that so you're not going to see my sweaty face on screen, sorry. But you know, the whole service, I mean, when you think about what we provide one of the basic needs of the humankind is housing, you know? So, and especially in this market, I mean, some people are borderline living in hotels, if not already living in hotels. So I think that kind of plays into what the big why of our service aspect of our industry is. And I've never, in all the, training that I've had, really got a good breakdown of the big why as the folks that have contributed it to their comments today. And I think it was Simone. I thought she hit it spot on. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
That's
thank
my
you, Andrea.
takeaways. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You know what? I think we all have at least little takeaways that we're going to take from today's session. And tomorrow we're going over pages 97 to 118 on the 3 L's and the goal categories. So don't forget to join us tomorrow. We're going to continue this conversation. Thank you to all of our instructors, Brooke, Rhonda, Kate, and guys, thank you for being here and really investing in your business. So we will all see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Go home. Go. I can't end it. Thank you, Rhonda. You're the best. I just love you so much.
Love you too.
Can we look at the questions in the chat after you close out the Zoom?
So